Insanity is an ancient affliction, perhaps as old as humanity itself. For much of history, the only thing as painful as the madness was the way mankind tried to deal with it. We've tried to lock it away, cut it out, shock it, or burn it out, but the nightmare refuses to disappear. Madness has always been with us. In ancient cultures, insanity was believed to be the result of a physical affliction, an imbalance of the 4 body fluids. The brain was the organ of the mind and susceptible to disease. But it wasn't until the Middle Ages that madness was proclaimed a sign of the devil, a punishment by God. Between 1460 and 1680, tens of thousands of mentally ill, mostly women, were burned at the stake as witches or heretics. Inhumane treatment persisted throughout the Renaissance. Victims of mental illness were cast into asylums and prisons, shackled and chained and left to rot in their own waste. By the 19th century, madness had become a subject for science. Still, new techniques for study, confinement, and suppression of lunacy were little more humane and no more productive than what had come before. With the 20th century and the birth of psychiatry, the disease of paranoia, withdrawal, and hallucination was defined and named. Schizophrenia, the affliction of the fragmented mind. Modern therapies like electroshock and lobotomy could still be abusive. Science had tracked the nightmare to the brain, but man was still determined to cut it out. The first real breakthrough in treatment came in 1951 with the discovery of neuroleptic drugs in France, powerful medications which diminish the experience of psychosis. Numbed by these powerful drugs, people with schizophrenia could return to a life outside of the walled institutions. But medication can only moderate the symptoms, the experience of a life lived in constant sensory overload, captive to a brain unable to tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Imagine a world where a busy restaurant feels like the front lines of a battlefield. Where every sound, every voice, every note of music were all firing at you at the same volume.
Ça va pas, toi? Ça va pas?
Imagine that in every glance you felt people were reading your mind, injecting thoughts into your head. That all of those imagined voices inside of your head are screaming at once in a language you don't understand.
Excusez-moi, monsieur, vous désirez un apéritif?
Imagine living trapped in a world with no boundaries between self and other. No border between your own thoughts and the thoughts of others. For millions of people around the globe, this is everyday life. Life in the world of schizophrenia.
Now, if you and I were at a cocktail party or at a train station where there were a lot of people and many conversations going on at one time, we would be able to focus in on a single conversation by blocking out all of the other noise and conversations around us.
Dr. Francine Benes is a world-renowned scientist searching for links between brain chemistry and schizophrenic behavior.
When a schizophrenic is in a crowded room with a lot of conversations occurring around them, they hear all of the conversations with equal emphasis. It becomes absolutely overwhelming to them, and the only way that they can take control over the amount of sensory information that's entering their brain is to run out of the room.
Victims of schizophrenia live in fear. The inability to filter external experience from internal thought contributes to hallucinations, voices and visions that can make even familiar situations terrifying. Recently, functional imaging has enabled researchers to monitor brain activity during psychotic episodes, adding new understanding to the power of hallucination. People with schizophrenia experience hallucinations as real because their own brain tells them that the experience is real. These MRI pictures show that the activity in a brain hearing real voices is almost identical to the same brain hearing imagined voices.